laptop mic. So we're live on YouTube and Facebook. If I can find my Instagram window, and I've got to change my glasses over so I can see, and then we'll go on Instagram. And we are live on Instagram, which is great. Good morning, welcome to our Wednesday morning focus on movement. Just to say, this clip mic isn't working, doesn't seem to be working this morning, so I'll sound a little bit distant when I move back a bit because I shall be on just the standard mic. So hopefully you can hear. If on Zoom, if you can't hear me, just give me a shout, and just give me a shout also on Instagram. Not that I can read the messages from that distance, but just give me a shout if I'm too quiet. Let's start off with finding your comfortable standing position. Swap the camera over, moving the chair out of the way. We're going to work as usual on hips, mobility, ankles, knees, and then also a little bit more on those stances. Remembering that a stance isn't just holding tight, it's about really feeling where you can, well, where you want to be strong, where you need to be strong, but also where you can soften into that stance as well. I'm just going to angle that slightly different so we've got a little bit straighter picture. Let's start off with taking our feet shoulder width apart. Again, we're just going to focus on, I say again because we talked about this on Monday if you were watching the breathing session. Let's just focus on having feet parallel. So feet are facing forwards. If it's making your knees pull in too much, or if it's your knees are turning out too much, you don't get that nice sort of like alignment, then just turn the feet out a little bit. So I don't want to force anything, but I just want to really work on that ankle mobility and that connection to the ground. A little bit of softness in the knees. We'll go tall through the spine, and we'll just start with our knocking on the door of life. Gently breathing in and out through the nose. Slow movement. Relaxing into the shoulders. Softening into the shoulder blades, the back. Remembering that connection to the ground, through the soles of the feet, through the bubbling spring. Also just, don't really mention it actually a lot, but when you're doing all of this stuff, if you can do it barefoot or in your socks, if that's safe or comfortable, if it's not hurting, rather than in sort of like a pair of training shoes or running shoes or anything. So you have that real physical connection to the ground. And then remembering lifting the crown towards the sky. So we get that lengthening through the spine, lengthening through the back of the neck. And then slowing it down into water waves. Softening into the ankles. Softening into the knees. Hips. take a moment. Keeping that stance, that hip width apart. Let's do a little bit of picking cherries. So you're reaching up. See if you can pick a little cherry off the tree there, and then we're going to reach up and reach up. So we're taking that rib cage away from the hip. Reach up. And just going smoothly side to side. Breathing easy. Remember, not straining or forcing. We're not going, oh, I'm trying to reach up there. Just gently reaching, lengthening out all the fascia, the ligaments, the muscles. Waking up the nervous system. And then take a rest. Pulling down the sky, breathing in. Breathing out. In. Gentle breath in. Out. This time we'll do 6 directions. So breathing in. We rotate to breathe out. We breathe in and breathe out. Follow your breath. Other direction, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's do one more round in 6 directions. Breathing in, out. Notice the rotation through the ankles, the knees and the hips as you rotate. And then take a moment. Let's go a little bit wider on your stance. Let's aim to keep our feet parallel again, but again, if it's forcing, if it feels forced, turning out the toes a little bit. But if we can keep our feet parallel, we're going to do that spinal wave. So remember, we lead from the pelvis. Pelvis tilts forwards, but we're aiming to keep our chest lifted and our head lifted till we get to that point where no, we'll need to then roll down. Then we get that nice roll through the spine. So tilting forwards. It's almost like you're aiming flat back there, or flattish back, and then you're rolling up. Remember, it's leading from the pelvis, so you're spilling out the front of the pelvis there. And then you're tucking the pelvis underneath, rolling up. Keeping on a straight leg, but soft knees so that we're not locking the knees out or hyperextending the knees. But it's giving you that nice lengthening of the fascia and the nerves of the hamstring through the legs. Let's do 2 more. And then standing tall, taking a rest. You can bring your feet in a little bit closer. In fact, let's just stand for a moment, hip width. Again, if you can, just aiming those feet parallel. Stand tall, relax into that stance. And then let's step out. Let's go quite wide here, but a comfortable width. And we can turn the feet out a little bit here, turn the toes out a little bit, sliding down the thighs, resting on the thighs, not putting too much weight on the thighs. And then remember, we're just shifting the weight side to side. So let's start off just by shifting the weight side to side. Keep that chest lifted. So you could do it without resting your hands on the thighs, but so I'm not like down here, I'm not facing the ground. I'm just gently gliding side to side, and you'll feel again that twist through the ankle, the knee and the hip. If anything hurts, you know the drill, you stop. It's not about hurting. And you're keeping low, we're not lifting up, we're keeping that pelvis low, gliding side to side. And then we can free up that upper body, so we can look at the opposite foot, and then we glide across and we look at the opposite foot. So we now get almost like that figure of 8 movement through the hips. So we're freeing up, getting that nice wave through the spine. Imagine you've got a big tail swishing, massive big tail connected to the tailbone. Just swish the tail. Imagine it's part of the spine, so it makes that spine ripple and wave. Moving the body like a river, a flow without blockages. Smooth, fluid, rhythmic movement, smooth, soft, light breathing, not having to breathe in any particular way, not having to breathe to move the body. Moving like a river. And then slowing down and very slowly taking your time just to come up to standing, walking your feet back together and shaking. Give yourself a little bit of a shake out. Give the body shaking, using the legs, using the arms. Just take a few nice full breaths, breathing in and breathing out, cleansing and clearing, but also just thinking about it, not just cleansing and clearing, taking those fuller breaths. It's a way of signaling to the brain that everything is safe. We're taking a nice full breath in and letting go. Extending that exhale a little bit. Good old shake, tapping your heels into the ground. And a full breath in and letting go. And then slowing down, slowing down. Let's just stand opening the palms. Letting that breath settle. We're going to do a little bit of flow, movement, Qigong flow, and then we're going to play around with what we were, if you would join the session on Monday, we were doing a little bit more of a stance position. So we'll play around with that stance position as well to finish off. But to start with some really nice flow, just opening the flow, breathing in, breathing out. Just make sure your stance is good, so you're about shoulder width apart. Feet parallel again if that feels good. Breathing in, using the spine, using the whole body. Breathing out. Maybe I stand a little bit taller as I breathe in. Maybe I sink a little bit lower as I breathe out. See what feels good for you. It's not just an arm movement, it's a full body flow. Maybe I shift the weight a little bit towards the heels as I breathe in. Maybe I shift the weight a little bit more towards the bubbling spring as I breathe out. But again, I want you to let the body move with the breath rather than thinking I have to move in a particular way. Just think of the body responding to the breath. Calm breath in, how that spine responds, how the rib cage expands, bringing all of that energy into the body. Let's go alternate hands or arms. So breathing in, breathing out, and then opposite side. Just floats up. Next one, let's step with it. So you step forwards, hip, shoulder, arm, and then you step back. And then opposite side, step forwards, hip, and step back. Flow of movement. Really focus on that flow of movement. you're stepping slightly out to the side rather than just in a straight line forward. So slightly out to the side. Stepping back slowly. And connect in your mind the sequence of events. So you'll feel bubbling spring touch the ground, and then that just flows through the whole body. It's almost like a chain reaction, a reaction to that connection to the ground. So that sequence of events, flowing movement. Do one more on each side. And then take a rest. And let's just stand with our feet shoulder width apart, and we'll just connect our palms towards the ground. So we just create a little bit of roundness. So we're creating some rotation in the shoulder, in the elbow, in the wrists, and we're just connecting our palms. It's like warming your hands on the ground. Feel that energy, the warmth from the earth's energy coming into the palms of the hands. And just breathing very easy. And any stances that we do, they're not rigid. So we think, oh, I'm just static. I remember when I first used to teach running technique, I would talk about static posture, and we're not static. There's always movement, there's always flow throughout the body. And it's that whole idea of where, when we're holding a position, where can we soften a little bit? Where do we need the strength? Where can we soften a little bit? Maybe you can just let the shoulders go a little bit more. Maybe you can soften into the ankles a little bit more. So what's nice about just taking your time in these standing stances. Check out the head position. Are you holding lots of tension in the neck and in the shoulders, or can you soften, relaxing the shoulders a little bit? Get that head balanced on top of the spine a little bit better. And then we're just going to rotate our hands so they're facing now into that lower dantian area. Just soften the elbows a little bit, so we're just connecting. And then soften now, really bring that attention to the lower dantian, the pelvic floor area, the hips, soften into the hips. Can you soften and let go a little bit more in the hips, in the lower belly? That idea of a true deep breath, where we're not breathing huge volumes of air, but we're feeling that response with every single breath down into the hips, to the lower dantian. And then have a little shake out. And we'll play around with that, the horse stance, which we looked at briefly on Monday. But again, it's a really nice one just to really strengthen our stances. So we're really working on strength and softness. So we're going to take our feet pretty wide apart, but again, aim for parallel feet. If that's an issue, as I've said all the way through this, just turn the feet out a little bit, but aim for parallel feet. Imagine you're not gripping onto the ground, but you're holding a soft beach ball like that. So it's almost like you're sucking up that little soft beach ball into the hand. You're doing the same with the feet. So I almost want you to think of like tree roots, drawing energy from the ground, bringing that energy up into your energy center here. So just drawing up slightly and almost just gently drawing up the pelvic floor without tightening. So I don't want any squeezing or tightening, but it's just that idea of bringing energy upwards from the roots, from the bubbling spring up the body, up the spine. And then we're just going to slide our hands down the thighs. Remember, we're not taking the hips back. So as much as possible, just sliding your hands down the thighs. When we get onto the thighs, we're going to rest on the thighs and just sink down a little bit lower, but keeping that chest lifted. We're going to sink down so we've got our, a forearm on the thighs, and holding that position, still with that idea of drawing up from the ground. Breathing. Keeping that chest lifted, keeping the pelvis not tucked. We don't want that pelvis tight and squeezed underneath, but we want to make sure that we're not sticking the bum out too much. And then when you can, just raising, without raising up from the ground or raising the pelvis, just opening up the chest. So just lifting up a little bit. Hold it for a few moments, breathing, and then just rest back down. By now you should really feel this working in the hips and the legs. If it's too painful, if you have pain, you stop. Again, lift that spine, open up, breathe. Drawing energy from the ground up, breathing. Have a little rest. Let's do one more. Lift. This time we'll connect. Keep the shoulders down, push in, push in, push in, palm up. Keep the shoulders down, lengthen the spine, breathe, keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. And then very slowly, you can rest back on the thighs. Slowly come back up. Give the legs a bit of a shake out. It's a nice one to play around with. I think we'll almost put that into every session because it ties in with the breathing. And it ties in with the movement. And let's finish off with a little bit of shaking. Actually, we've got 1 minute to go just to shake the body out a little bit. Shake the legs out because you might feel the legs and the hips and the thighs after that one. Good old shake. Let's do some nice cleansing and clearing with a little bit of sound. Breathing in. Ready for the day ahead. Breathing in, let go. Tapping the heels into the ground. And then slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. Opening up the palms. Letting the breath settle. If you need to take slightly fuller, calmer breaths, if you want to extend that exhale, just breathe as your body's telling you it needs to breathe. Excellent, and we will finish there. Give yourself a little bit of a rub down. Lots of good stuff going on there. Hopefully you could hear me okay, because for some reason the microphone wouldn't work today, but hopefully I'll get that fixed for Monday. Thanks as always for joining. If you've got any questions, if you've got any requests, you know where I am, get in touch with me. And I will see you on Monday, where we'll focus a little bit more on the breath. Have a good day, have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, take care, bye-bye.